Victoria are going to host these amazing girls at the studio.
Yay! So guys, you're in for a treat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you excited to be here?
Yes.
That's nice.
Hey girls, would you take a minute to introduce yourself to our viewers today?
Hi everyone, I'm Shikaina Gattu and I am pursuing my 12th grade. And my passion is I love singing. It's my passion. And I love to lead people in worship. I'm just still in training. I'm just growing in that area, doing what God has called me to do.
So
Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Charity Omojo and I am a student of law.
Yeah.
Wow.
So cool.
Yeah, and I'm very passionate about purpose. Yeah.
So good.
That's amazing.
Hi everyone, I am Priya. I completed my bachelor's in psychology, mass communications and literature, and I am passionate about working with youth and serving in the youth ministry.
That's nice.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy Grace Kanta. I am a media and communication grad student. I'm passionate about content creation and helping people be the best version of themselves.
Oh,
Wow,
Yeah.
that is so exciting, ladies.
That's nice.
Wow. I am so pumped up today talking to all of you. There's so much of talent in this room, so much of purpose in this room.
Yeah.
Wow.
And let me tell you, you girls are looking very beautiful.
Thank you. The year 2020 was a big year for all of us. A year filled with promise and purpose. And suddenly, out of nowhere, we're hit with this pandemic. Something that we've never seen in our times.
That's right.
And the whole world came to a pause. I was wondering, how did you girls deal with this pandemic?
Go ahead.
So for me, when the pandemic started, I actually didn't know like what to expect. You know, so
Actually, nobody knew the word pandemic.
yeah, right. Then the lockdown started.
Yes.
I couldn't see my friends.
I know,
couldn't go
it's so
to-
hard,
Yeah, I
right?
couldn't go to
My
church.
God, yeah.
Yeah, so. But at first, I think I was excited because there were no classes and all. But later on, it like became more harder,
Uh-huh.
and all I did was sleep, eat, watch a movie,
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
for everyone.
That was pretty much for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
And then I started like in church, people started like getting on Zoom calls
Uh-huh,
regularly, and then I started participating in
Mhm.
most of those calls. I started getting active, and that kind of helped a bit.
Okay.
Oh, so for me, pandemic, I didn't expect this coming, and I was transitioning from living independently and moving in with my family. And at first, it was kind of like everybody was loud and we had
I know,
arguments
I
and
know.
stuff. But
Yeah.
slowly, I started enjoying this time with my family, and it became a new normal. But then it was not ending. My God, we had to stay home all the time. So yeah, and at the same time, I was also trying to step into what God was calling me to do. So there was so much uncertainty.
Right,
But,
yeah.
Surrounding myself with family and friends helped me to
Right.
keep pushing.
Right,
for
right.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
I think for me, when the pandemic hit us, I think nobody anticipated how long it would be. We thought maybe for like a week, because my college was shut down for a week. So I thought, okay, maximum a month, but like it went on forever. And like living at home. So in my family, we rarely see each other throughout the day. Like we probably will like see each other on the weekend, and even on the weekends, we're busy with what we're doing. But living with them, like with not going out, really took a toll on all of us. We were in each other's faces. We were so irritated of just like being together. It took us a long time to get used to like spending time with each other. But I think like, you know, finding activities like cooking and things like that really got us together, and we could bond and not get annoyed with each other.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
I think keeping myself busy with activities really helped me get used to it and not get annoyed with my family.
That's good. How about you, Shikaina? What do you think? How did you handle this situation?
So this pandemic was really tough for me, and then it was tough for everyone, and so I missed going out. I missed
Miss your friends.
yeah, I missed my
Yeah.
friends. I was locked up in the house, and
hard.
Yeah.
I started cooking many dishes.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
Oh,
really?
I started baking.
What's your favorite dish?
When I made that
Which one?
barbecue chicken and honey
Oh,
chicken.
yeah, sounds
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really tough, and then there was a lot of fear also, which was
Yeah.
built up everywhere, and
Right.
in the house, and
Alright.
Yeah.
so yeah, we
I know this pandemic was so difficult for all of us at different levels, right?
Yeah.
Stuff that we're going, and everybody's story is so different from the others. Some of us are fearful,
Yeah.
some of us had our insecurities. But how did you guys manage through this? What is the one thing that kept you going? So we want you to talk about what kept you going.
Yeah.
What was the Lord teaching you during these times? Because there was so much of fear, so much of uncertainty. Could you speak to us a little bit about how you dealt with it or how you overcame it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's a good one.
That's a good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So when I think about how I dealt with the pandemic, I think for me, I understood that though we were socially distant, being relationally distant was not going to help us because we were all in isolation. And I knew that we needed each other. So I knew community was going to be very, very important for me. So once I understood that, I just texted one of my leaders in the churches that I serve, and I said, hey, I think we need community more than ever now. And she told me,
Yeah.
she's just like, call up 10 other girls, let's try and meet every day and pray every day and just share what we're going through. I said, okay. I hit up about 10 girls, 5 of them texted back. And with those 5 girls, what we did is we prayed every day. We spoke life over each other every day, and we just
Wow,
shared
that's
what we were going through
Wow,
every
that
day.
is so
And I
good.
think that really changed it for us
Mhm.
because we all were able to emotionally and mentally heal from the things that we were going through before the pandemic. And with that healing, I think God was paving the way for the next in
Wow.
all of our lives. So that's
Wow, that
how
is so good.
I dealt
Wow.
with it.
Wow, that's so
Amazing.
good. Man. Yeah.
I think it was same for me actually.
Mhm.
I was also part of the community.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering what community, she reached out to me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I just thought it was a great idea. So we started this call, we pray every day, and just like she said earlier, it helped as well.
in the beginning of pandemic, I was actually not so worried about anything. I didn't have that fear in my spirit. What's going on? And I thought it's just for a while, and then it's gonna go off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
later on, in the
It
night,
was on and on.
yeah, it was on, and then once in the night, I felt very breathless,
Wow.
and I was not able to breathe, and then I didn't inform my mom and dad. But then at that one point of time, it just after that one point of time, I started spending more time in prayer. I started listening to inspiring songs, and then worshiping, and then God spoke to me about how to overcome fear. So then I started making videos of it, and
Wow.
then I started spending more time in the Word of God, and I started listening to more music, and yeah.
The music really helps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would totally agree with that.
Yes.
It kind of changes you.
Okay. For me, it's the same. So, accepting Amy's request for this community group really did help me to move forward, even when things are stuck and stagnant outside, and walk into what God was calling each one of us to do. And another thing, like I said, spending time with my family helped me in a way so that they could encourage me in my everyday life. And intentionally, I was trying to surround myself with people who would push me into my purpose, and not so that I might not get stuck anywhere at that point. Yeah, so that's how I do it.
So all you three girls are talking about community.
Yeah.
So could you tell us what this community about, and what were you going through? Literally, I just want to know what were you going through during this time, and maybe throw a little bit more light in the community that you're talking about, and what did you do in these times?
Yeah, so the community was really important.
Okay.
it really helped me because I was actually in a phase where most of my friends, my African friends, they just left India. They've gone back home. So I was like all alone.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I felt
That
I
must
felt
be really tough. Huh?
yeah, I felt that way. And so when Amy reached out to me and she told me, I was like, ah, why not? Sure. And then we prayed every day. We started opening up to each other.
Wow.
You know, we've
True.
always been friends,
Yeah.
but it was like I saw other sides of her. She saw another side of
that's
her.
so true.
Yeah.
So yeah, that really helped.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think when we created this community, we didn't really know how it was gonna be like. But then when we stepped in, I think it just flowed because we got to see different versions of ourselves. Like we knew the versions of each other that we maybe saw maybe on a Sunday morning or during the week once, but like speaking to each other every day really helps you see a person for who they are and the different versions to who they really are. And I think especially for me, I was one like before the pre-pandemic phase, I was struggling with a lot of failed friendships too. So going into the pandemic, I didn't have like those ride or die friends that you would call that I could call up and say, hey, I'm not feeling well, the anxiety is getting to me. I didn't have those people. So I knew that more than anybody else, I needed that the most. So,
Right.
but when this community came in, they not only were serving at the level of sisters, but also as friends because we would laugh, we would talk about,
That's
we
so
were
good.
intentionally being honest and vulnerable to each other.
Wow.
I think,
Yeah.
That's so important.
yeah,
right?
that is, and
Yeah, being
because
honest,
of that,
yeah.
I think that paved the way for deeper friendships. I think a friendship that I was craving when I lost the previous friends of mine.
Yeah.
I think this community really served that. It really changed the definition of what friends look like to me.
Yeah.
That didn't mean it doesn't mean like we didn't have issues.
Yeah.
Like, we had our disagreements as
Right.
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Tell them about it.
We had
Yeah.
our disagreements, but you know, when you have this mindset of what a family is,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
fight, but
Right.
we don't separate.
That's so
right.
good. That's
Yeah,
so good.
that's so
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It was such a struggle, like, you know, when we were having our arguments, and, you know, because all of us have such strong personalities and all of us are so opinionated.
Yeah.
So we all wanted to be heard. But then when we looked back at it, it all came from a longing of just being heard and being understood. And I think
Yeah.
when we were able to do that, I think the love just flew right in.
Wow.
Because once
Wow,
we
that's
were
so
heard,
good.
we felt like we were loved. And that's
Yeah.
how, as a family, we were able to move on from this and love each other deeper than the problem that we were going through. Yeah.
So I'll add on to what Amy and Sharon were talking about and being part of this community group. When I entered this group, I was dealing with failed friendships too and transitioning from leaving the job that I love. I mean,
Wow.
during pandemic, people were losing jobs and
Right.
I had
Yeah,
to
that's right.
leave my job
Oh
because
my
God asked me to
God.
do it.
Wow.
Oh.
That
Yeah.
must be so tough.
It was. So, and knowing that I'm not the only person who's dealing with failed friendships helped
Yeah.
me to in my journey and to keep moving forward. Yeah.
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 That's good. Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool, huh? To have this community of friends who are actually praying with you every day,
Yeah, it's true.
encouraging, you know,
Yeah.
and that would have been a real support for you.
It was like our support system.
Yeah.
And we made it a point to pray for each other's needs every day, and which seeing these prayers being answered helped us in our faith to stretch our faith to believe in things that are impossible. Like
Our
That
dreams
is
are
amazing.
really- yeah.
That is amazing.
yeah.
To have that community of faith, you know, that believes in you, that
Correct.
pushes you to believe
life
God,
over you,
yeah,
yeah.
for the impossible.
Absolutely.
Because with so much of uncertainty and fear, in fact, people were losing jobs. You know, oh my God, it was not a good time at all.
So during this lockdown, Amy, I watched a lot of videos of yours. Tell me something more about it. I think you are a content creator.
Yeah, so for me, content creating was always a part of who I wanted to be. I always wanted to create content, but I think before the pandemic, I had this opportunity to like create content, but it did not work out. Part of it being I am someone who's a perfectionist. Things have to go my way, or else it just doesn't happen. And
That's
that
all
actually,
it is.
yeah, it became very toxic for me because it did not let me appreciate the progress that I was making. So instead of being happy with the way I was progressing, I was killing it by matching up to these standards of perfection that were very unrealistic actually. So I was dealing with failure on that particular end. So I was still recovering from letting myself live in a progressive mindset rather than a perfectionist mindset. So when we went into the lockdown, I saw a lot of people creating content, a lot of my friends who always wanted to do this, doing it, and I was thinking this is the perfect time to create content because everybody is at home and they're on their phones. But I was like, can I do it? Am I ready? Am I going to live up to my standards of perfection? And that actually hindered me from actually starting out. But I think it was one afternoon that I was listening to a sermon by Michael Todd, and he was talking about how when God calls you into something, He wants you to step out, and where
Right.
you are faithful, God is fruitful. So that
That's
really
right.
hit me. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, Amy, I think it's time to step out, and it's time to just go with what you have. So that's it. I told my parents I'm gonna shoot a video. They were surprised. They were very surprised. I just did my hair and makeup, and I told myself, what is something that people need to hear right now? What is the need of the hour? And that was, how do we deal with the pandemic? How do we deal with all of this?
Right.
How do we be productive in our time
Yeah. Yeah.
in the pandemic? And that's something that, was a question mark in my own head. But that was my first video out. I just took the camera up. It was not perfect. Let me put that out there. If I watch that video, I cringe at my own video because I'm like, this is not how I wanted to start. And I'll be honest, it did not live up to my standard of perfection. But I had to understand that I was, in the order of trying to be perfect, I was losing out on something that was good and something that had so much of potential. So for me, this pandemic and this community really helped me move from a perfectionist mindset to a progressive mindset where I was able to
That's a
celebrate
good
each
words.
and every step.
Wow.
And I know that on this process, I will reach that level of perfection one day, but that's not what I'm fixated upon right now.
Right.
So
Yeah. That is so good. Yeah.
So basically, during this pandemic, you were very fruitful.
I hope so, yes.
Yeah. I think a lot of good has come out as well.
Yeah.
If you look
Yeah.
at the flip side of it,
Yeah.
the times with family, times, looking into your lives, stepping out to
Yeah.
into what the purposes of
Yeah,
God,
into what God-
I know both you ladies also have so much to say, about stepping into what God was speaking. And it required faith and courage, right?
Yeah. For me, I think the fact that we talked about community and how that helped, right?
Right.
And for Amy to step out,
Yeah.
like she started creating content.
Right.
And all. I've always wanted to do the same thing, but I've always held back because of fear or
Right.
Yeah.
just what would people think about me and things like that.
Yeah.
So when she started and I shared the same thing, like, oh, Amy, I've always loved to do this, she started encouraging me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so good.
She was like,
Yeah.
there's no better time to do it than now.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt the urgency, and that's how I started creating content as
So
well.
do you think that this lockdown was the best thing that has happened to you guys?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you can just come out of your own,
We can
Yeah.
completely
Well,
say that this lockdown was a blessing for us.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharon, you also mentioned that you were very fearful,
Yeah.
right? So tell me how you dealt with that fear. How did you overcome that fear?
I wouldn't say,
Or did you do it afraid?
yeah, that's it. That's what I did. I just stepped out in faith.
Amen.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say right now that I don't feel the fear anymore.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
there are days that I don't even feel like, creating content or
Yeah.
doing anything. But, when you surround yourself with people that
Right.
think like you,
Yeah.
they see your vision and they understand your personality.
Yeah.
It just helps to encourage you,
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
so
so good. That's
I
so
still
good.
have fears.
Yeah.
A lot of
We
fears.
all do. We all
Yeah,
do.
yeah. That's
Yeah, but I keep doing what I have to
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah. How about you, Priya? How did you step into what God had for you, the purposes?
So I'll piggyback onto what Sharon was talking about fear. I was scared I would say scared to death to start off this page. Like, I had a vision to start this Instagram page like in 2018. I started it.
Okay.
Like Amy said, like I started giving myself reasons why I shouldn't be doing it. I
Yeah.
don't know how to edit. I don't have right equipment. Where should I get things? Like, I don't know who to ask help for. And I stopped doing anything on that page. And coming back to this community, seeing Amy do it, Sharon do it, God just revived that dream back in my heart again.
Amen. Yeah.
And
So
I
good.
started doing it with what I have. I was
Okay.
listening to Tim Ross's one of his Insta live videos where he was talking about don't waste the good based on the order of perfection. So I was like, okay, I'll just be faithful with what I have right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just stepped forward and
That's
started
so
my
good.
videos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just adding on to that, I think for all of us, the most biggest fear in our lives is we thought we didn't have what we needed to start. But I think what God reminded us over and over again is all you have is all you need to start.
So good, man.
Yeah.
That's
And when
really
you
good.
start
Really
there,
good.
God will,
Yeah.
it's God's job to take you further. I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
He expects you to just start then. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a struggle every day. It's a
Right.
struggle to put yourself out there, open to criticism,
Right.
open to so many people saying, hey, you shouldn't be
Yeah.
wearing so much makeup. Hey, you shouldn't be saying those things. Don't say this. It's a struggle to be yourself on social
Yeah,
media. And I think
yeah,
everybody will echo
I
that.
That's right.
Whether
Yeah.
you're a content creator or not, it's a struggle to put yourself on social
Right,
media
yeah.
because of
Yeah.
comparison. We
Right.
struggle with it every day. I'm not kidding you. Like,
Yeah.
I will get on a call with Sharon and be like, why aren't you doing it? And she's like, I'm scared. And that's
Yeah.
that's a reality for
That's
all of
true.
us in our
Right.
lives.
Right.
But one thing that I think was so significant to me and all the other girls is I never thought that me stepping out into what I wanted to do, that God would use that opportunity and revive their dreams. And it really
Yeah.
reminded me that, when God asks you to do something and when you're obedient, it not only pushes you, but it blesses the people around you.
That is
Your
so good.
simple
Absolutely.
act of
Absolutely.
obedience
Mm.
Yeah.
will literally shift people's lives.
That's
true.
And that's
That's
the living reality of all of us here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
You
so
said it, Amy.
Yeah. And man,
I think another fear for me was the fact that I always felt like I wasn't qualified.
right.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
we
I-
can
I
testify.
I keep,
always
I
feel
keep
that. We
asking,
always feel
yeah, I keep asking myself, like, who am I to even put out content?
Yeah.
There's so many other people doing it already.
Yeah, what do
Right,
I
yeah.
know?
Yeah,
And
I think
things like
those-
that.
Those are real struggles, right?
Yeah. And I remember speaking to Priya about this, and she just told me, it is God that qualifies you.
That is
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah,
That is
Yeah,
so good.
so good.
that,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
every time I remember that,
Yeah.
it encourages me.
Yeah. I think we get so fixated on what we're not. When we look at ourselves, we see what we're not. We don't see what we are.
you are,
correct.
right?
Yeah.
And once we change our perspective to see what we are, that like gives us a boost. Like I can do this. I
Yeah.
can do this. But if we're gonna see what we're not, we're never gonna feel qualified to do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Totally
good
agree.
example. That's
Yeah.
a good
Yeah.
Another thing that helped three
Yeah.
of us was like we had a group which
Uh-huh.
we named it as creators because all of us.
Wow. that's
creating
creators?
content, yeah.
Wow.
So it was a platform where we could share our resources and ideas
Right.
and encourage one another to be consistent in what we were doing.
Yeah. Consistency was
Is
the key for us.
Yeah.
I think with that group, we were able to really push each other. So when one was falling off, we're like, no, you have to come. You
Yeah.
have to run your race.
Yeah.
You have to show up. You have to keep creating. So when you keep creating, God can keep moving too. But if you
Right.
don't create,
Yeah.
you can't expect God
Yeah.
to be doing what you want Him to do. So I think having that group really helped us build, like I said, it built
Each other.
build each other, champion each other's callings. And in a world where everybody compares themselves to each other, we were able to celebrate one another.
Wow,
Correct.
that
yeah,
is so
that was
good.
so true.
To have friends who celebrate with you, that's a rare thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny
That's so
because
good.
every time, something significant happens to us, or if our video crosses certain views, like I remember when my first video hit 1,000 views, I called them first. I'm like, hey, it hit 1,000 views. So many people saved it. So many people commented. Like, because we know the amount of work that goes into creating content that we are proud of. It's exhausting.
Coming back to your question, Amy, you've been talking so much about creating content. How do you create content? Are you inspired by something, or I know for a person like me, how do I understand that? Where do you get your content from?
I think for me with creating content, I initially was supposed to start it as a beauty content creator, that is like to film tutorials and things like that. But that didn't work out for me, and like I said before, I had a failed opportunity that didn't work out, and I was dealing with a lot of rejection and feeling like I missed my opportunity in life, and so, because I was not able to produce the content that I wanted. But in this lockdown, I think God really had to shift my area of content. I think in that moment, I just felt like I need to be doing more inspirational slash motivational content,
Okay.
because I could
Okay.
just sense that so
Yeah.
many people needed that at the moment.
Right, that's
People
so true.
didn't
Yeah.
need me telling them about how they need to do their makeup.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
needed me to tell them about how they can get back up and not be anxious at that moment,
Right,
how they can
that's right.
push forward, work on their
Right.
issues. I think that was it for me. I felt like that's what was needed right now. That was the need of the
Yeah.
hour.
That's so
Yeah,
true.
that's
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I directed most of my content to help
Yeah.
people work on their issues like confidence, doubt, insecurities, so that they
Yeah.
could be the best version of themselves. Because I
wonderful.
believe that if you give people an opportunity to learn and grow, they will. And when you tell them how to do it, they'll catch on and they will be the best version of themselves.
Wow.
So good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
For me, most of my content came from my personal experiences and what God was teaching me in various seasons of my life, whether it's how to deal under pressure or how to deal with the season of waiting.
Right.
And,
Yeah. Yeah.
most of my spoken word poetry or different things that I do on my page came from my personal experience.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Me sharing my story with somebody else,
Right.
because there are millions of people in the world, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You don't know who is going through the same issue as
Yeah.
you.
You are going.
So I just believe so much in being vulnerable, and
Yes.
I believe people can connect with my story.
Absolutely. I think this whole part of video creation in general requires vulnerability, because if you can't be vulnerable on camera, or if you can't be vulnerable about your story, people are not going to connect with you. But when you bring yourself up with all of your insecurities, with all of your various things that you're going through, and put it out there and say, you're not alone.
Right.
I
yeah.
go through
yeah.
this too.
Yeah.
So people connect with you.
Yeah,
And that's what
right.
helps you create that connection
Yeah.
as a content creator to creating a connection with your audience.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think being authentic is so
Absolutely.
it's a real thing.
It's a
You know,
prerequisite
yeah,
to
yeah.
anything that you do, actually, not
Right.
just content creation, but
Yeah.
anything that you do in life. If you show up authentic, if you show up as the real version of you, there will
Yeah.
be true growth in your life.
Yeah. And you girls have lived by such strong principles, I must say. Wow.
That's
wanna-
a compliment.
Yes. Seriously, I'm so proud of all of you, you know. And could you actually talk a little bit about that, about your core values? What do you believe in? And,
Putting God first is one of my principles. And maybe second one would be giving your best shot in whatever you do. Let it be in
Right.
anything. Let
That's
it
so
be
good.
small things. Let it be in
Right.
big things. Yeah, giving your best.
That's
Wow,
so good. Yeah.
That's really good.
That's really
yeah.
good.
You nailed it, huh? Yeah.
So for me, I always believe that at the end of the day, whatever we do here, it's all about God.
Wow.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah, come
it's
on.
true,
So,
true.
Yeah,
That's good. That's good.
So
It's
that
all
really-
about God.
Yeah, it really inspires me.
Mm.
And the second thing, which I feel like it's a huge help to me that God has taught me, is you showing up. Just
Yes.
show
Yes,
up.
so
oh my
true.
God, that
Be
is so cool.
available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just show up.
Be
Yeah.
available.
Yeah.
These are the
I think one thing that I remind myself always is to, no matter how God takes us higher, to always remain grounded and anchored in His Word. And second thing that I always remind myself is to love, respect, and honor people just like Jesus did to us.
Yeah,
And people deserve second chances.
Yes.
And but also it's
That is
important
so
to
good.
still have
Yeah,
boundaries.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man.
Preach
That
it.
is so true. Yeah.
Share can handle it.
And yeah, lastly, I think that, and the third thing that I remind myself is about my identity in Jesus. Like,
Yeah.
for me, it's more, I think I carry that burden of talking to people about who we are in Christ.
Wow.
Because a lot of times shame and other factors
Right,
can
yeah,
take
that's
away our
true.
foundation.
That's
So,
absolutely, yeah.
yeah, that's the core values that I follow.
I think for me, my top 3 core values are: first is authenticity and vulnerability. I think that's very important to me. Like I said before, no matter where you show up in life, whatever it looks like in front of you, you will truly learn and grow only when you are 100% honest with yourself about who you are, what you're going through, and make a decision that you're gonna take the real you forward.
That's
Not
right.
the
Yeah.
fabricated part of you,
Right.
not the perfect part of you,
Yeah.
but the part of you that isn't perfect. Taking that person into each and every opportunity, each and every obstacle that you have in life, you will truly grow from that. The second thing is a progressive mindset over a perfectionist mindset. This is coming from a person who is a perfectionist, but through my journey of content creating, I had to learn that every step needs to be celebrated, because
That's right.
every step's an
Yeah.
indicator how much you're growing as a person.
Mhm.
But if you don't take time to notice that, you're never going to be happy with yourself. You're never going to love yourself for all the effort that you're putting into.
That's true.
And the last thing is the intention of creation. That to
Yeah.
me is very important. The question that is in my head every time I make a video is, why are you doing this?
Right.
What is
Yeah.
your main focus?
Yeah.
Because I feel like once you have that question right in your life, you can prioritize a lot of things.
Mhm.
Like when I think about it, a lot of content creators, maybe they think that they're creating this content just to gain some sort of significance on social media.
Mhm.
And when you have that sort of a mindset, nothing's ever going to fulfill that, because it'll always get bigger and
Right.
bigger and
Right.
bigger.
Yeah.
But when you have your intention right and you have it clear, focused, and clear cut, I think you can work on it every time that you put out. Maybe for me, it's content, but everything that you do, when the intention of your creation is right, I think everything else will work it out in your life.
That is
So
so
good.
good, man. So good. So
Yeah.
good. So good.
So, girls, you did an amazing
Yes,
job.
I think phenomenal.
It was so
Yeah.
wonderful to hear
Right,
all of
your
you, grow
stories.
spiritually strong during
Yes,
this pandemic.
yes,
And I
yes.
just want to let you know that, 20 nations are just watching and hearing.
Wow.
And just tell me one thing that would really help the viewers.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So something, if you had to give one piece of advice
Yeah.
to your generation, what would that one thing be? You could speak right into our cameras, so, yeah.
Where we
So, hey, if you are like me, like you know what your calling is, or you know, or you're giving yourself reasons why you shouldn't be doing it, or you're just not giving up on your dreams,
Uh-huh,
I just wanted to let you know that be faithful with what you have.
Wow.
And when
Yes,
you're
yes.
faithful with what you have, God sees it and
That's
He'll
so
meet you
true.
at your need.
That's right.
And
yes.
He will multiply everything that you do, because that's just His nature.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
so good.
so whom He calls, He will qualify, and where He calls, He provides.
That's
So
so
Amen.
good.
Yeah.
just go for it, step up, and do what He's asking you to do.
Yeah.
That
So
is
good.
So
Yeah.
good.
Very
So
good,
good.
very
So
good.
good. Yeah.
For me, one thing that has always encouraged me, many things do encourage me, but part of it or one of it will be that I was sharing with Priya the other day that death affects me a lot, and that's because I think about it in a way that life is really short.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So we say that all the time, but we don't pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever your dream is, whatever your calling is, whatever your purpose is, just go for it, because God is waiting for you.
Oh my
Amen.
God. Yes.
Come on,
Millions
girl.
of
Yeah.
people are waiting for you.
Come on,
Yeah.
Sharon.
So
yeah.
just-
We
Yeah.
have a
Just-
bunch of girls,
Yeah.
preachers.
Just go for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just like to add on to what Sharon was saying. I was watching this sermon about how the preacher actually talks about just going for what God has called you to do, because the dream and purpose that He's placed in your life is not only for you, it's for the world. It's for so
Wow.
many people around you.
Yeah.
And as long as you walk into that calling, there is this void that is on the earth.
Right.
And when you walk into it, you become a solution to that void.
That is so good.
So I just want to
That's so
add on to
good.
that, because
That's
I
so
remember that sentence affecting me so much, because when we think about our insecurities, we only think about ourselves.
Yes,
It's not about
yes,
anybody else. It's
yes,
about
yes.
you. And I think
Yeah.
insecurities can do that to you.
Mm.
But when you look at it that way, you know that you're not doing this just for yourself. You're doing this for so many people whose
Absolutely.
needs you don't even know at the moment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to what advice I would want to give, I think mine's going to be like two points, because I feel like these two things really helped me. I've said what I'm going to say over and over again in this, but be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Be honest with yourself in a way that you know where you lack, you know where you're good, and where you lack, invest time and energy to get better in that area. invest
so
in
good.
things that will help you grow as a person,
Yes.
to grow emotionally, spiritually, physically, all these areas of your life, that you grow to be the best version of yourselves.
Wow.
And the second thing is that when you walk through the journey of life, people are going to put boxes around you just for them to understand who you are. But I want to let you know that don't be defined by these boxes.
That's so good.
Because
That
I
is so
know
good.
that when people try to define Jesus, he broke that box like this.
Yes.
When they thought he was going to do it a certain way, he said, no, I'm not going to do it that way.
Yeah.
And that gives me so much of confidence, because people will do that to you. They will put you in a box. They will draw boundaries around you. But I want to remind you, be who you are, because that's how God created you to be. Not
So good.
defined by
So good.
people's
That is so
opinions,
good.
not defined by people's failures,
Yes.
but defined by who you are in Him. So don't let people's boundaries, people's nonsense define who you are. You are you, and that's how God made you.
That is so good.
Yeah.
That is
Fire.
so good. So much advice coming
wanna
from
add
all these
something?
5 brands.
So
Yeah.
in whatever you do in life, never give up in anything.
Right.
you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And let it be in any let it be a situation or whatever you're pursuing, like studies or emotionally or anything. Just never give up on yourself,
Yeah,
and
so
then God will take you forward.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would like to add on to that. Do it afraid. Just
That is
Yeah.
so good. Yeah.
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 We
yeah.
need that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think because fear is going to be a part of your life.
Correct. Yeah.
But you have the power to choose whether you let fear influence who you are.
Correct.
Because if you let it influence who you are, you're never going to do anything.
Yeah.
It will be like the most, I don't know, I can't really describe it in words, but it'll be the most sickening voice in your head. Like
Yeah.
every time you set out, you're like, what if this happens? What if that happens?
Yeah.
But when you choose to say, I'm afraid, yes, but I'm still going to do it anyway. And that way, you challenge your own fears, you challenge yourself, and you will be proud of what you've accomplished when you do it.
Wow. I'm, one of the spiritual gurus that I look up to is Joyce Meyer. And Joyce always says, she says, do it afraid.
Yeah.
And so many times I'm caught up with things that I'm afraid.
Mm.
But I just love the fact that we do it afraid.
Yeah.
So, girls, we are so, me and Lo, we're so proud of all that you are becoming, all that you have accomplished, and so much more to go. You know,
That's right.
you've been bold, you've been courageous, and you're stepping out and you put yourself out there. Here's both of us wishing you all the very best, all that God has for you,
Bless you
and
guys.
keep inspiring
Yeah.
your
Amen.
generations and the generations to come.
And be influencers.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you
Yes.
so much
Yes.
for having us.
Yes.
Thank you.
It was
having
so
us.
fun. Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know who this is for, but I just feel like, we talked a lot about community, right? And somebody might just be feeling, oh, because they talked about community, I have to be a part of a community.
Yeah.
But be careful the
Yeah.
community that you're part
Right.
of.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Your
Very
community
important,
will
Sharon.
make you
Yeah.
grow,
Yeah.
or it can destroy you.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Come on.
Preach it,
Yeah.
sister.
I
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
I just felt that.
Absolutely,
I
girl.
wanted
You
to-
go. You go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Picking up from what you're saying, I think a good way of discerning who your community should or should not be is when you look at your community, because you're going to be spending so much time with this community,
Yeah.
accumulative of who they are is who you're going to be in the next 5 years. So
Yes.
choose wisely.
Yes.
If you're going to be with people who are constantly, not in alignment with your values and your visions for your life, you're going to end up like them. But if you choose to be with people who are in alignment with who you want to be in the future, that's who you're going to end up being in the future.
Absolutely. Come on.
Now, how
Okay.
this was something during the lockdown that you guys wanted to be.
We
a part
prayed
of
for
something.
opportunity.
I'm like, it's really exciting to have this platform, this opportunity, and we really appreciate it because during the lockdown, we actually prayed for this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Three of us thought about there's this show we watched, The Real Show,
Okay.
and we just love the ladies.
Yes.
And we just thought, oh, how nice would it be for us to do something like this in
Yeah.
India?
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
where
Oh.
we're just, so open,
Yeah.
hot, open, and transparent.
Yes.
Yeah. sorry, hot,
Humble,
open, and transparent.
Thank you. Yeah, where we just share about our story.
Wow.
And we didn't expect it to come this early.
Soon.
This kind of opportunity.
Yeah,
We never
yeah.
saw it coming. So
We didn't work for it in any
Yeah,
way.
in
Like
any
in my
way.
head, I thought, okay, we need to be a little more successful as content
Yeah.
creators to get this opportunity. But God had a different plan for us. and we're
Correct. I
so
think
happy.
it was more of like our obedience led to opening more doors.
Yeah.
We've
say
seen
Wow. Wow.
yeah we've seen many opportunities. We just started it off and
Yeah.
we've received a lot of opportunities.
Favors.
coming our
Yeah,
way.
favors.
Favors.
That's the right
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
Favor.
Favor of God.
You know, I think what you do in the closet,
Inside,
or what
yeah.
you do in the
In
the
a secret
room
place.
inside,
Yeah.
and especially during this lockdown, what you did in the lockdown, now it's
Yeah.
an open
Feels so
reward,
good, right?
that
Yeah.
you
It's an
honor.
embodiment of
It's
everything that we
absolutely-
did
Yeah.
in under closed doors. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
and it makes us really excited.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's so much more
So
in store that the Lord
Absolutely.
has for each one of you girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, girls, what you do in the closed doors always pays off,
Yeah. That's so true.
and there's a huge reward.
Yes.
And you see that you are in just more than 20 nations are just watching at you.
Wow, that is
This is so
incredible.
amazing.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
God opens a door,
Yeah.
Yes.
no man can shut it.
Amen.
What do you do?
Amen.
Yes,
So He
yes.
is amazing. We serve an amazing
Amazing
God,
God.
and we are so thrilled and
Yes.
excited to hear a lot of beautiful stories that have just come out.
Yeah.
We are so proud of you girls.
Yes, absolutely.
God bless you, and I have lots more in store
Yes, that's
for